We'll get started here in about 5 minutes, Kelly.
Okay, no problem.
Agendas.
Yeah.
Who gets one?
Yeah. 10 minutes too, or you-
Yeah, I'll take 10 minutes too.
Yeah, 10 minutes. Sure. Thank you. Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
Oh, I don't know if I can get it. Anything else, tonight?
What's that?
This would be a nice hanging out. Who were you watching yesterday? Callie, Ryan's kid. Callie, or like, I've been practicing her all year, but we didn't go all season. And we haven't gone yet, so I'm ready for the rest of it. Yeah. How many people are, all the old people are leaving?
I like it.
This thing's gonna take off.
That's the shaker. So the top one is the DVD, like how we broadcast the
Is that
DVD.
your guys' last game? Oh, we were just.
That decides to turn it off and on, so.
Oh.
Good tactical professional there, you can probably get evaluated for it.
He's.
Got a hammer?
He's. He's. Groups were all there. But, yeah, I think Gray is here. Gray first. Oh, he's, okay. Yes, okay. No, I thought he was there. He's one of his first big cities. Okay. Awesome. It's like pretty cool. Big cities.
Like, great.
Not to start at least.
Yeah. Right on time.
Whose idea were the,
I don't know if they're Don's idea or Denise's.
is it for YouTube?
No,
In
They're
case you have to go back?
it's so,
I
Denise,
thought it was for somebody to take
keep
minutes
track.
so they could see on
that's exactly what
YouTube.
it is. We do have a quorum with Kelly on the phone, so you can start right at 7 if you want.
Who you want to phone? Oh, Kelly.
Yep.
Okay. It's not time yet. Call this meeting to order. We just go right to additions or approval of the agenda.
Correct.
Okay.
I have no changes.
Does anybody have any changes to the agenda? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as is? just need someone to motion.
You have to use these.
You know,
I'll make a motion.
Okay, and then I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay. All of those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Any visitors to be heard? No visitors to be heard. We'll move on to review of the minutes from August 2nd meeting.
excuse me, Madam Chair, that should be September 13th meeting.
So do we need to go back to change the
No,
agenda?
I think you're okay.
Okay. Any changes to the minutes from September 13th, 12th? Chad Riley in the audience.
Says others present were Mayor Duchesne and Alderman Riley. I was not at that meeting.
Very sure.
Why?
I feel like this says you were present, so.
Oh, it says others present.
So whoever makes the motion for the minutes to be approved should do so as amended, removing Alderman Riley.
Can we even vote on this if only one person was actually at this meeting?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you can.
So I just need a
Or you
motion.
can table it, I mean, it's completely up to you.
I just need a motion to approve the minutes from the September 13th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve it with removing Riley out of it.
Okay. And a second? I'll second. Okay, moving on to old business. Do we have any updates on assigned tasks?
You need a vote on that.
Oh, sorry. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, old business, updates on assigned tasks.
Not a whole lot here. Most of what we need to be discussing is going to be under the softball field project. There's still work going on at the pool. Most of the dirt that are brought in now. The fence, I think I mentioned this last meeting too, the fence by just to the east of the diving board, that's going to be moved out, to be even with the other south fence. That should happen sometime in November. Next week, this week, Rockwood placed around the remainder of the pool and in Pedal Bells Park, along with landscape edging and fabric. I think in terms of plants around the pool, I'm still not sure what to do there. It's all pretty hard packed stuff, so we're not quite sure if we're going to add plants at this point or just wait for a little while and maybe go in the spring instead. Once the pool fence is bumped out, we'll complete that rock around the edge and have them seed in the spring again. I don't think we have any other, actually, I think Justin looked into some stuff for the skate park and he can report out on that. based on
Yeah,
that.
I have the quoted price for the skate light for the skateboard ramps. What I see is we'll need around 8 sheets of the rubber skate light material, and it comes in 4x8 sheets and 4x10 sheets. They range from $235 to $294 a piece, so in total, I would say for materials, it would be around $2,500 for full resurfacing of the skateboard park.
Wasn't there a discussion about potentially the company having some kind of a,
Yeah, they gave me a quote for it if the company would come and do it, and just to assemble a crew, it would be $15,000. So definitely,
We
so
quickly got
who
to do it.
resurface, who
Yeah.
does resurface it then?
You can do it yourself.
Okay.
Yeah,
And that
it's not complicated. It's not.
meets safety standards, we don't have to be concerned about that?
No, I wouldn't be worried about that.
Any other updates on assigned tasks?
the backstop nets are down from the baseball field, and the shade structure is put away.
I saw that today.
And the pool has been completely winterized, so that's all set. The campground, hot air winterization, that kind of stuff, we're thinking probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks, so. We're watching the long-range forecast. Once we start to dip into the 20s at night, we really need to start shutting that stuff down, so. More than likely, I would say, 3 weeks at the latest at this point, before we shut everything else down.
When you're shutting everything down at the campground, are you referring also to the restrooms?
Restrooms would shut down then, we would winterize all the restrooms in the park at that point. And
All
concession
parks.
stands. Yeah. In fact, we're probably ready to start blowing out the irrigation system here in the next week or two, just based on what we're looking at.
Should we tell Cyrus then next Saturday for the bathrooms?
We can do that.
Thank you, soccer president.
I should note that the motion, second, and vote to name you as soccer president did not make it to the minutes.
We're gonna do it, we're gonna do it today on the agenda.
You just better-
Soccer is
Could
on
be anybody
here.
now.
Any other updates on assigned tasks? Right, nothing we need to vote on there. Renaming of West Evergreen Park.
So the renaming West Evergreen Park, I think, was to Lady Oriole Park, was the recommended name at the last meeting. The city council had quite a bit of discussion. I think, Sean, you can talk a little bit about this too. We voted to table that item for more research and discussion at a later date. Sean, do you have anything to add to that?
Sounds accurate.
I did get an email from Berlin Hofer, who many of you may know from the paper. He had sent me some of his thoughts on this too. I haven't read through it all yet, but I'd be happy to pass it along to them, to everybody in the park board and council, once they do that.
I think that's something, would be valuable. That's something we could read. I don't know if we need to read it out loud now, but
No, I don't
do
think
you
so.
wanna discuss the general context of the email?
Yeah, it was more along the lines of, he doesn't see any significance in the name of Lady Oriole Park. He just says, I guess I'm of the old school and believe that parks and other institutions should bear the name of someone who contributed to the community, and in this case, specifically the Lennox Park system. So he had two individuals, former mayors, who had worked hard to improve and maintain and promote the park facilities. I don't know this name, though I suppose if I go far enough back in minutes, I would. Fred Curry, former mayor, and then Orville Beavers as well.
Okay, I had, reviewed or watched the council meeting from the evening that Sean went, and kind of what I heard from that meeting was just the concern, with Lady Orioles and just gender equality, and, with that light, I can't say that I don't disagree with that. I think what would be valuable for this board is if we could meet with members of the council and sit down and just have a discussion about everyone's thoughts, maybe bring up some names or ideas that we could either survey to the community if we narrow it down to 3 or 4 names, or we can do the call for the community to submit ideas.
Are you suggesting a work session, a joint work session?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else has other thoughts. Is there anything that we need to take back to the council or anything?
I can update the council at their next meeting, with the request for a work session, and figure out, a schedule for making that happen.
Do we need to vote on that?
I don't think so.
Okay, any other discussion on renaming of West Evergreen Park? On to new business. So first, introduction of new board members. I don't know what's all involved in this, but I just wanted it on here so that we could at least recognize that we have new members and the excitement that surrounds that, for me anyway. But I thought it would be, and this might be because I have a background in teaching, that we should just introduce ourselves. And we want to talk a little bit about why we volunteer in the community, or maybe our experience with volunteer. Don't laugh.
I
I can go first. I'm Brittany Mauer, if you don't know who I am. I got involved in Park and Rec, actually, several years ago. You really had to kind of beg people to join. And so, Sam Bowers, at that time, I worked closely with him in wrestling, and so he saw that I was doing extra work there and asked me to come here. And so I have coached softball and t-ball. Probably not the best coach, don't have much knowledge, but I figured it out. So I'm just really happy you guys are here. I'm excited to have new people that are ready and willing to kind of give their time to the community, so.
Chris Hansen, same thing, with people trying to get people on board. Got a lot of kids involved in stuff, and, I don't know, I kinda got asked to help with baseball and stuff, so been doing that, and that's about it.
Whitney Squad. I grew up in Lennox, moved away for a few years, came back. Both my kids are involved in t-ball, will be baseball, and softball, and figured just have people set in place that are willing to help out and move things forward.
Tyler Christensen, been in town for a little over a year, just looking for somewhere to get involved in town. We're pretty much made it our long-term home. We've been looking in the area for the last 3 or 4 years, and we finally found a place, so, I've always been outdoors and sports and always involved in that, so it's gonna have a good fit, and knew a few of the board members and kinda talked, and there's openings, so.
Sean Grimes, been on board for 2 years. Prior to that, I coached in Lennox basketball, volleyball, softball for 3 years.
Kelsey Soto, I have been on for 2 years. Yeah. I've coached t-ball. My husband's very involved in coaching all the sports. We have 3 little kids involved in the community, and I just wanted to be able to help ensure that there was always something within the community for them to do.
Steve Cruzy, I'm new, and I guess just trying to help out where possible. And I think the Parks and Rec is probably one of the, for young families, probably the most important thing that people look at. So just seeing if we can help out wherever we can.
I don't know if everybody knows you, Justin, so.
I'm Justin Myers. I'm originally from Yankton. Got involved with Parks and Recreation from Yankton to Vermillion to Rapid City. Now I'm in Lennox, and I'm very happy to be here and working with all of you. Thank you.
I'm Nate Vanderplatz, city administrator / zoning administrator / a few other things. My job is, well, there's a lot of sides to it. Number one is keeping council and mayor up to speed and helping them with their decisions, making policy recommendations to them and to planning and zoning commission and to the park board. So a lot of my work has to do around policy formation, but then also sticking to those policies later on down the road when the time comes.
The Chads in the audience.
Go ahead.
Chad Wolf, I'm a council member, have been now for probably close to 5 years, and was on planning and zoning, and actually sat on CPS after a while now too. So I want to thank everybody that just stepped up to do this, it's important.
A lot of our members go to council after sitting here, so
Yeah.
it's your future.
Chad Riley, I guess I'm the chair of the Parks and Rec for the city council. Been in town about 7 years, got 4 little boys. I think it's very important what you guys do. And I was also on this board.
Is Kelly still?
Kelly,
Yeah,
do you want to introduce
my
yourself?
friend. Yeah, I'm Kelly Boongarden, and I have 3 kids. for summer, well, my daughter is in tennis, which I'm at the state tournament right now. And then, one of my boys plays baseball. And I am just wanting to get more involved. I think it's very important to, volunteer whenever you can. So I'm hoping that I could be of help somewhere. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Kelly. Any discussion on introduction of new board members? So we'll move on to the softball field project. I asked Nate to add this just because you had sent out that email, Justin, so I thought it would be valuable to just discuss it here, maybe make a plan for that.
So to bring the new members up to speed, this year we tried something a little bit different with the budget and set aside some funding to complete a larger project in the parks. Something that really when it comes down to it is just deferred maintenance in a lot of cases, but stuff that just needs to be done. So in the process of setting that, the park board chose redoing the infield and really, I would say even going into the outfield a little bit, especially left field if I remember right, and regrading and improving that field. The drainage on it right now is terrible. I think it's probably the best way I can describe it. And so we lose a lot of bagger line, but there's also, we're starting to expose some old stuff underneath. And the playing surface is just getting harder and harder to maintain. So that's the big project for this fall. Now that the softball program is done, high school softball is done. Our next step is to figure out when we can get together and start pulling, number one, pulling the bagger line off, saving what we can, and regrading the subgrade, and then adding bagger line back. So the bagger line that we're going to use has already been delivered. 25 tons, I think is what we pulled in. So that's all sitting down by the soccer fields right now, ready to go. We're hoping that we can pull enough off of the surface now that we won't have to get more. But if we do have to get more, we still have time to do that this year or even potentially next spring. So I think really what we have to do is set times that the park board would be available or other community volunteers would be available. And I think maybe it might not hurt to do a sign-up genius type thing in a case like this to get as many people involved as possible. We do have 2 skid loaders that we can use on the field. I don't know that I would put any other equipment in there at this point, just because of the work that has to be done. But I'm hoping that with that, we'd be able to get most of it taken care of.
So the
What
dates,
exactly are you planning to do down there?
We're gonna scrape off the acre line, set that aside. Nielsen is going to shoot it and help us out with the grade, set where the grade should be.
And you're gonna add clay and
You would probably call it, yeah.
Who's gonna
It'd be
help?
player. Nielsen, yeah.
isn't there some old drain tile underneath?
There is.
Are we gonna replace that?
I don't think we will know. We don't even know where it goes.
doesn't have a place to drain to right now.
It is not.
There's no,
It's gotta go somewhere though.
well, yeah, it goes to
Yeah.
the soccer fields and makes it wet.
Really?
Yeah, just from the field.
There's not, it doesn't go to the holding tank or anything.
Yeah.
So
It just goes in the outfield, doesn't it?
From what I can see,
Yeah,
that's
that
runs
one's
down
on.
from home.
So we can't even put in new drain tile because we don't have a place for it to go,
We can't
right?
put it anywhere, no.
Okay.
Is the city gonna do anything with the road out there anytime?
Elm?
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, we're looking at a temporary fix, right across from the church parking lot. That would essentially take whatever water is going down there, then we pump it over to the right of way, the highway right away, and drain to the west.
Nothing close enough you can take that field water into that.
There's just not enough slope there, I don't think.
Where do the baseball fields drain to?
Softball. Probably.
Which
The middle field more than likely does. The
baseball
main
field?
baseball field
I said
drains to
both.
the storm sewer from south pits in the dugout.
Is there a way, and I have never installed drain tile in my life, nor do I really understand how it fully works, so nobody laughed. But can you drain the drain tile from the softball field to the middle baseball field that drains into the big baseball field and into Maine?
Oh, you can't drain uphill.
So it's higher.
Can you just dig it down? I don't know.
I think first base at the baseball field's like,
It's probably 3 or 4 feet higher.
it's not, no, but like first base on that big baseball field's like 8 to 10 inches below, and then it just digs down, and it's not a slope.
Right. Towards, goes
Towards
towards, toward Third over to Main Street.
Ultimately, though, you want drain tile under it.
At some point, I think it'd be nice to put a drain tile under all of the fields,
So would it make sense to even,
install it.
I mean, is this just a patch job pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna call it a temporary fix, because I think getting the infield grade fixed is more important at this point than getting the actual under drain done. Could we install some drain tile under it? You could, but without knowing where it's going to discharge. You have to know that before you get the depth right and the slope right.
I don't think there's a spot to dig in a tank like we did the other one either.
Not really, no. If we had room to tank a fence on that side.
What has the tank under it? Where is there a tank now?
Behind the field.
Between third base and Main Street. there's
Can't we
actually
dig up a
tank.
spot between the two fields and put a tank there and everything drains into that?
You can't drain upfield, or uphill.
So put it by the stop sign by the skateboard park, where it's the bottom of the hill, that's where all the water collects. So you guys are, you're fixing that anyway, aren't you?
Where does that water tank go to?
Well, we used to have to plug in a sump pump and pump it
Go
out
on
into
the
the street.
curve, now it goes into the.
Now it's
Source.
source.
Okay. So we still have to pump it to the curb, and it still's not anywhere to go.
Well, what did that project cost when we did the drain tile? Was it like $7,500? It was all free labor, and
Yeah.
Right, it was,
we rented a trailer, Hannah should let us use a trencher, and I can get a trencher.
You should use small plugs too. I was talking to somebody that did a small, they used, it's almost like an aerating plug system. It's wider. For man, what you doing?
They did that for me.
Oh, okay. But it was a deeper plug, and they filled it with silicon sand. And that's what they used for the storage. Now, a big rainfall is still not gonna help that much, but and that's an outfield project, that's not an infield project.
how much room is in the softball field from the center field fence
To the corner,
to the sidewalk there, how much room is there? Does anybody have any idea?
checking.
I know there's a void there.
You mean behind the fence?
Yeah.
Behind the fence.
65 from center field fence to the corner of the city's property, of the park property.
So like, where you turn
To
to
the
the
south.
to the old football field,
Yeah.
that's where.
So then we could put something to pump, but can we pump it out into that street? Because then it goes down and it hangs up, and
Yeah, it's gonna hang up.
it's gonna hang up.
Pump it into what street?
Elm Street.
Whatever street's by the softball field.
There's also a city street that's by the concessions, I thought you were wanting to pump it in there where the garden's going.
Oh, we could do that.
Get irrigation.
Where's the garden going?
That abandoned street.
It's street, right where you should
It's a
turn right
city
into the
street,
old
but it's
football
grass
field.
right now.
Oh, I
There's a
didn't know that.
space.
That's where that was
It's
going.
supposed to go all the way through.
I don't know that anything's happening with that right now.
Where is this at, the southwest corner?
Yeah.
The softball field?
Well,
Did you
My
go up,
thinking
did you
was
go up
if
at the
you put
first
a
base
tank-
dugout? How much space is up there between there and the road? Because doesn't it kind of all slope that way already,
Yeah.
Sean?
Everything slopes
So then it just sits in that street,
Yeah.
street slope right there.
But I mean, because, I'm just
I mean,
wondering,
if you're gonna put a tank, you're gonna wanna put a tank over here. I mean, that's the lowest spot.
Yeah, I'm-
35, 40.
I'm just saying if we could put a
There's no
tank in
village.
between there and actually get the water off the infield, and then just pump it out on the park drive.
Then you're pumping it on the park drive where there's already a problem.
Yeah.
Like,
Up on
I mean, if
Park.
we fix that problem, cause that's what I had said earlier, but that problem has to be fixed first, cause there's no drainage by Park Drive where it meets Elm. It just collects there. Right, isn't that what you're
Correct.
fixing?
Right down the street, and
So,
But when you do your fix, would it be able to hold that much water if there was a tank there that was able to pump out into that
I
area?
don't know, we would have to get an estimate of what that runoff would
which
look
year it
like.
rained.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this year it would be fine.
So Nate's gonna shoot, what is he gonna shoot?
he's gonna check that infield for us on how much we need to add. From, what, third base to the
Third
dugout.
base to first base looks like about a 18 to 15-inch drop.
It's a big difference.
I mean, you can park alongside on Park and you can see the difference. It's pretty substantial.
The
Well,
question
talking
becomes
water,
then-
it's more than just the infield, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's water that sits in that outfield, correct?
It's not too bad.
And as soon as we,
I actually think the middle field's worse.
and as soon as we reshape that infield, water is going to flow to the
Always
outfield.
water.
It's gonna go to the outfield.
Yeah, as it's supposed to, all directions from the center.
I mean, there is, but it's
The big thing is,
It all
once you get it
collects along Park
reshaped
Drive on
and
those
get it
trees.
crowned, and get the new agger line on there, we can't have people just out there with rakes trying to pull the agger line. And, cause that's what, I mean, that happens on all those fields, somebody wants to practice, so they go out there and they try to rake it, well, they pull all the wet out, and then nothing ever goes back, and you end up with a mobile, I mean, you and I
Yeah.
were down there with that drag for a day, trying to get it cut out, and put back together. So that's the big thing, is just making sure people know once it's fixed.
Well, the drain tile now, I mean, I'm no expert at it, but, I mean, that stuff can be retrofit pretty much anywhere.
Right, that could right in and be done with.
Right, so
It doesn't take much.
regardless of whether it's done this fall or not, you still have to get the grading done.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think if we were to do drain tile at some point, I don't want to be just that softball field, we really need to get that, the spectator area. I am afraid we're gonna have a lot of water heading in that direction, so we'll probably have to do some reshaping there as well, but, at this point, it's just to get that field of play, up to par. And, I'm sure there will be other steps we're gonna have to take afterwards.
There's no irrigation in that softball field now, correct?
No. It looks awful green in this picture, which I assume is from either 2019 or 2019.
So, you had talked about dates last weekend, it would have been last weekend and this coming weekend. Do we need to narrow that down, or what's kind of your plan?
Do have a holiday weekend next weekend too, so.
Maybe a little later.
Do we know what we need for, as far as physical labor at this point, though? I mean,
Well, the big thing is just to scrape the stuff off. isn't it?
yeah, so I think the big thing is just get that stuff off as soon as we can.
'Cause I think what we did on that middle field was we just had like, I think we just used the dump trailer and just, the city guys just scraped it off.
That's what we would do.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not,
Then we shot it.
and then,
Yeah.
yeah. I think, yeah.
So maybe
That's
the,
a big one.
maybe the next step is talking to Jesse and we see what works for them. I wouldn't go this week, but maybe the following week, with the weather cooling down, it's gonna be pretty rare that they're on asphalt at this point, so.
The one big thing is making sure you can get the bases and home plate, go down in there correctly.
All right, any other discussion on softball field project? Justin, you're gonna update us on that? Okay. Moving on to soccer program. President Sokup, do you have any updates?
I do. This week will be this coming Saturday is the last Saturday of our soccer season. Everything has been going well. There's been no issues or anything that way.
Parking is sufficient?
Yeah, there's been, we've been lucky. We haven't had the fields have been fine, they have not even
Great.
been wet. The weather, I think we're not even gonna have to cancel one next week, looks good too, which might be the first year since I've had a kid in it that we've made it the whole season without weather being an issue.
Thinking about master plan for that area. I know that you're aware I would like to see more baseball and softball fields over there, but do we need to think about down the road, maybe something with parking there? By that concession stand?
Yeah, whether it's a gravel or an improved surface, I think even temporarily we should have something there. I was fairly impressed with how the asphalt milling did pull out this year.
Yeah,
And I'd like to see if maybe that would be an option, for at least slightly improved parking surface there. I think the spring is probably when we have the most problems there.
yeah.
And, you know, if we could get some of that down, I think we could, resolve some of that, so.
This year was a lot different, but I know in previous years, there were a ton of cars that got stuck out there. So just think when it gets really wet.
We do have the option at this point too of using the high school's extra practice space east of the football field, for soccer, for spring soccer. The school did approve that use, so,
East of the football, the area they're gonna fence in.
yes.
Okay. Anything else with soccer?
Nope.
Okay. Baseball,
You know, just uniforms.
okay, where are we at with the uniform? Do you know where you're at?
I haven't ordered uniforms yet. I still have yet to check the new concession stand and go through everything, but I'll be working on that after these major projects.
Do you have a list of people like that are missing them that turn them in?
Yeah, they,
Yeah.
When you're, sorry,
think we were only
when you're
just-
talking about ordering, what were you thinking of ordering?
So we've got to do the inventory first.
yeah, I really need to see what is broken down, what we can, you know, basically salvage before we get a list of what we can order.
Yeah, usually, I mean, you can look, once you have the inventory done, what we maybe need to order, but typically we wait for that first registration and see what kind of numbers we have, and then that kind of guides your ordering, but it's not bad to start thinking about it
Okay.
now. This doesn't really fit under specifically baseball, but with new members, I'd like to start designating, we don't have to do it this meeting, but if people kind of want to think about an area that you're more, just have more knowledge in, baseball, softball, t-ball, soccer, et cetera. You don't have to be a president, I was just teasing Kelsey, but just to kind of oversee and lead that area with Justin's, guidance as well. Mainly just working together, hey, where are we at on ordering uniforms, you know, and kind of helping each other. But Justin's position has kind of taken a lot of that work, and so it used to be this board that would do all the things, all the ordering, registration, everything, and a lot of that's Justin, but we still support him in that. So if you guys just want to kind of think about it before next meeting, I think Kelsey is good with soccer, and so we might maybe want somebody else to take t-ball, so that you don't have to do both. So t-ball and baseball really are probably the areas we need help, I guess. Not that Chris can't handle baseball, but so that you have another person. Foss, he ditched you, you weren't here last meeting. Any other updates on baseball? Softball? Sean?
Did you receive the missing bag of equipment yet?
Not yet.
That's all I got, it's just one.
Are you talking about my bag of equipment? Well, I'm right here. I will-
I believe there was shared responsibility for that.
It is, it's Heidi Bauer's bag, and I think it's in her, I don't think I have it, I think it's in her bag. Has anybody reached out to her and tell her she's
I'll reach out,
passed?
I'll reach out.
Okay, okay. Anything else for softball? Okay, t-ball. We're done with t-ball.
Yeah, I have,
So, nothing, no updates.
On the bag of T-ball.
We're
garage,
s-
I'm renting.
yeah, we're still missing my bag
It's
of
a
T-balls
paper
up
bag.
here.
So this board hasn't returned
You, or
it.
just put it in the shed?
Either or, if you can bring it in, I still have some in my office, I haven't taken it out there yet.
I just work such long hours that you guys are just gone by the time I can get here.
Anything on T-ball? Nothing? Anything else? Meeting? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I
Is that how
motion
we
to
do that?
adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, meeting is ended.
So we put Britt in charge and all of a sudden we can get a meeting done in 40 minutes?
Everybody text Boz and tell him when he's not here.
I'll say
He said
five.
I'm the